The morning came and went as every morning did. Maude had been gone most of the day, missing the afternoon light pooling into the living room, which she had always said was her favorite. She'd left a note on the counter telling Alicia she'd gone out, but nothing more. It was only until the clock neared dinner time that Maude had finally shown back up. The sun was beginning to set behind the hills, turning the sky a gentle purple, which swam beneath pink clouds. Maude opened the door, shouldering her bag. "I'm home," she called out quietly. With a push of her foot, the door shut behind her, and Maude breathed out a sigh. She set her bag onto the counter, deciding to ignore it for the time being as she flopped onto the couch. The messy ponytail bounced behind her, floating into the air for a moment before promptly landing onto her shoulder. She shut her eyes. They stung slightly, so she rubbed her fingers onto her eyelids in an effort to remedy it. She hummed defeatedly. Alicia felt like she was going crazy. The events of the night before had been playing over and over in her mind. The smell, the warmth, that look in her eyes, the soft glistening of her lips. The water from the shower beat relentlessly against her neck, flowing down her hair and chest in thick streams. Her hands were planted against the wall, and her head hung down as she stared at the slightly off-white shimmer of the wet shower tiles. What was wrong with her? Last night she slept so poorly, despite her emotional exhaustion. She tossed and turned, unable to shake the tension from her limbs, her hand still itching from where Maude had held it. She never got like this with any other girls, but then again, she hadn't gone laid for a few days. Was it just that she was pent up? That was probably it, right? Maude just got all touchy and needy and fiddly with her shirt, and it made her all sexually frustrated. That's gotta be it. She just had to get it out somewhere. Get rid of the energy, and then this weird mood would pass her by. It was just like any other bodily need. She just needed to get her head on straight by doing some very not straight things. She should visit Mona tonight. Finish what they started. Now that was a good idea. She silently thanked the shower for the inspiration and then turned it off. With the shower head slowing to a trickle, she flung her wet hair back over her shoulders, squeezing the water out of it as if she was handling a wet rag, and swiped the towel from the towel rack. She dried her hair, looking at herself in the mirror. The bags under her eyes were truly awful today. It was insanely obvious how little she had slept. Good thing she had nowhere to be today. Or, well, technically she did, but not anymore she didn't. Not when she looked and, more importantly, felt like this. She heard the front door open. Was that Maude? Her mind raced through the possibilities. Was she with Jessie again? Had she ever given Jessie a spare key or anything? She quickly toweled the rest of her body off, throwing on the white, oversized shirt she had put aside. It was some random thing she had lying around from a past fling. She kept it because it was huge on her and relatively comfortable. She wouldn't be caught dead in it outside, since the front of it was faded and used to read something about fishing and ex-wives, but it was fine for now. She slipped on some clean underwear, pulling some short shorts over top, which disappeared entirely under the shirt. Slowly, carefully, She opened the bathroom door. She didn't hear Jessie's voice, so unless that girl had suddenly become really quiet, maybe things were safe? She slowly padded across the hallway on her bare feet, hair still damp and wild from the towel drying. She peeked around the corner, seeing Maude slumped onto the couch, alone. She allowed herself a small breath of relief, pushing herself past the strange, dormant anxiety that was springing up again. Yikes. When did you die and come back to life? You look awful. She tried her best to look casual, crossing her arms in front of her and pressing the fabric of the billowy shirt tight against her midriff. Maude had heard the shower running when she entered, so it figures Alicia would have seen her soon enough. At Alicia's question, she made no effort to retort back. There was no witty comeback or stinging comment Maude could hurl back at her. Her entire body felt like it had just gone through the ringer. So instead, Maude let her hand fall limp at her side. Her eyes were slightly puffy, clearly from crying, and her skin looked just a little duller than usual. She took in a breath, letting it out slowly as she turned her head lazily towards Alicia. Jessie and I broke up. The memory crawled back. Jessie had obviously been very upset, accusing Maude of several things that she didn't exactly feel like reliving at the moment. Her chest, oddly enough, felt almost spacious. The catharsis after crying had hollowed her ribs out, it seemed. It went not so great. Maude sighed, rubbing her temples. But at least it's over with. She raised her phone, looking at the time as a slightly pained expression twisted her features. Her hand pressed against her stomach. God, I haven't even eaten dinner yet either. Oh. How should she react to this? A maelstrom of emotions surged through Alicia's body. Her stomach churned, her shoulders felt lighter, her lungs squeezed tight. On the one hand, she was happy. So incredibly happy. She wouldn't have to see Jessie again. No more derogatory comments, no more glares, no more feeling like a stranger in her own home. Or, well, whatever constitutes a home for now. But on the other hand, she was a little disappointed that things didn't work out. If they did, maybe it would have meant she had helped Maude figure something out. She'd have done something to help, to mend instead of destroy. As it stood, she was just the cause of a breakup. A breakup that Maude clearly felt horribly about. She sighed, looking uncertain about what to do with her hands, but eventually whipping her phone out of her shorts and quickly navigating to her food delivery app. What are you feeling? Pizza will probably be faster, but maybe something carb-heavy like burgers and fries will be more comforting? I don't know. She seemed to be giving it serious thought, avoiding the core of the issue and focusing strongly on the hunger problem. That was at least something she can fix. Nothing sounded better right now than drowning out every single one of her thoughts into a pile of pillows and blankets, Maude thought. A hot shower with decadent soaps and scrubs would surely do wonders for her as well. Mentally, Maude was already beginning to plan out the rest of her night like a meticulous ritual, but the gnawing in her stomach consistently tugged her thoughts elsewhere. Alicia's mention of pizza made her stomach growl. Maude looked toward her, scanning her features as they zeroed in on concentration. Maude blinked. A rice bowl sounds kinda nice. Maude combed her fingers through her ponytail, trying to straighten out the knots and tangles in it. She heaved herself up, trying to ignore the ache in her feet as she did. Maude stood beside Alicia, almost sandwiching the small girl between her and the wall. She leaned down, looking at the phone screen. There's a good place for it just down the street. I can't remember the exact name, though. A small piece of Maude's hair slipped from her hair tie. The smell of smooth vanilla wafted from it delicately. She leaned a hand on the wall next to Alicia, using it for support as she leaned down a little further, squinting her eyes. Damn her for forgetting contacts and glasses. I think it's this one. She reached around, clicking a restaurant. Are you okay with this? Alicia subconsciously shied away from the tall girl as she got close, causing her to unintentionally lean one shoulder against the wall, eliciting a tingle down her spine. She took a deep breath in an attempt to calm down. She was just pent up, that's all. She cleared her throat, pulling back up the bravado from where it had been stored all day. She nodded. Sure, order whatever. She smiled, looking up at her tired roommate as she joked. No wonder you're hungry when you're always smelling like a whole fucking bakery. Maude scrolled through the menu, tucking the piece of hair behind her ear. I like it. It reminds me of those old dolls that came smelling like cake. Maude mumbled. It was a somewhat comforting smell, reminding her of only the sweetest childhood memories. Alicia let the girl scroll on the phone as she took the opportunity to observe Maude closer. Don't think about how pretty she is. It's fine. Good looks aside, she did look pretty rough. The breakup was clearly visible on her, and she couldn't help but wonder what Jessie had said about her. Had Maude received the same vitriol as she had been this whole time? Was she demeaned in the same way? She huffed slightly. Something about that irked her. A prickle of irritation gathered in her stomach and the ends of her fingers. She clenched and unclenched her free hand. Hey, she didn't hurt you or anything, did she? Alicia's question made Maude pause for a moment. Her eyes glanced towards Alicia's, then back at the phone as she tried to gather herself. She tried to find the right words, the right phrasing that would get her point across without having to fully delve into the bitter memory which still lingered on her tongue. Her lips pressed into a thin line for a moment before they parted to speak. No, she just... Maude shrugged, sighing. Told me I was overreacting. Said that I should really just make up my mind and that I was just, you know. She added a few items into the cart, trying to seem as nonchalant as possible, though her nose had already begun to sting. A straight girl who was messing around with people's feelings. Maude's jaw clenched. She did not want to cry. And it seemed as though she had cried enough tears, as nothing but flushed cheeks came of her. Maude sniffed, giving Alicia another shrug. It's whatever. She didn't physically hurt me. Jessie wouldn't. Maude shook her head. Alicia narrowed her eyes at Maude, setting her jaw as she clearly seemed to be considering a few things. She sucked in a breath through her nose, letting the air flush through and ventilate her insides, hoping to cool them and soothe the uncomfortable stirring in her chest. This upset her. When Jessie was being mean to her, it at least felt like it was somewhat deserved. When Jessie insulted her, it was still complicated, in the realm of gray areas and moral dilemmas. Was it over the top? Was it necessary? Was it okay? Who could say? She wasn't emotionally intelligent enough to go around making those type of judgments. She at least knew that about herself. Her attacking Maude's intentions and dignity like that, however? Alicia unclenched her fist, letting the anger flow out of her hands and into the surrounding air to slowly ebb away. She scoffed. Overreacting. Right, because what she did when I brought Mona over was totally measured and level-headed, right? Nothing impulsive or dramatic about it. Very mature. She chuckled loudly, compensating for how angry she still felt by putting on a blasé act of superiority. Must be easy, just ignoring any part you had in the failing of your relationship by deciding your partner isn't into your entire gender. It's no different than a boy claiming his flirting wasn't working because she's probably a lesbian anyways. I wonder if she'll ever realize that maybe she just sucks at sex. She shrugged, a mean smirk on her face, the slight heat of conflict burning the tips of her ears red. I mean, honestly, you didn't seem very straight to me when I had my fingers wrapped around your... Alicia stopped in the middle of the sentence, her breath getting stuck in her throat, causing her to create some kind of strange-sounding chuckle. Anyways, you get it. She's just finding an excuse to make it all your fault. It's not. Maude raised an eyebrow at Alicia's comment before brushing it aside as Alicia did. She would have given the night before more thought, however, other things weighed on her far too much to give anything else too much attention. She finished ordering, stretching her arms to the air in an effort to relieve all the tension intertwined in her muscles. If you want to get anything, just let me know. Maude began, flopping onto the couch. I'll just send you the payment later. My phone's dead right now. Maude yawned, rubbing her eyes. Not even the slightest reaction. Just a tired expression and the bare minimum of communication. Alicia frowned. It's not like she wanted to be called out or told to shut the fuck up and sit down, but seeing Maude so numb to everything was jarring. It didn't fit her. She took a deep breath in, looking down at the phone and mumbling at the offer to pay for the food. Why are you even worrying about that? Don't bother. The words left her lips half-heartedly, given very little volume to work with on their journey to Maude's ears. Her nose twitched like that of a nervous bunny, after which she looked down at the phone and scrolled down to the dessert options. She found the pre-packaged ice cream tubs, hovered her hands beneath the cookie dough and the walnut caramel for a while, and then added the cookie dough to the cart. She hesitated, and then added the walnut caramel as well. Might as well throw in the fudge one while she's at it. And the white chocolate with strawberry for good measure. Breakup food. That's what this was. There was no energy left in Maude to analyze Alicia. She could have said the most heinous thing this very moment, and Maude couldn't have given her so much as an eye roll. The little energy left within her was used in trying not to relive the breakup, trying not to relive the prickling of the skin and the stinging in her nose and the miserable walk home. There was no need to relive it. It was done. She was home, and that was it. Maude sighed, her hand searching lazily around the couch for Alicia's phone charger. Upon finding it, she plugged it into her phone, letting the screen light up with a battery. My head is killing me, Maude whined slightly. Dreamy eyes looked towards Alicia, doughy and pleading. Could you be sweet and get the medicine bag in the bathroom? Alicia scrolled back up, adding some random dishes to her order so she wouldn't sit there and starve, then quickly added in the details to take care of the payment. Yikes, that ice cream wasn't cheap. It had definitely cut into her funds. Oh well, no vape for this month either then. She looked up, startled at the sudden question. Oh, yeah, sure. She lingered for a second, then dipped into the bathroom quickly to get the gaudy medicine bag Maude was talking about. Normally, she'd never do what Maude asked her just like that. Not without a little bit of a back and forth, but she clearly couldn't use that right now. Maude was weird. She was all sad and quiet and non-combative. It felt uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable. She had to fix it. She slinked out of the bathroom, slipping into the hallway and off to her own room. She quickly rooted through her supplies, finding the blanket they had used the night before. She threw it over her shoulder, the end of it dragging across the floor as her eyes darted around. She pulled open a drawer in her nightstand, revealing an assortment of colorful packaging and wrappers, her secret stash. Grabbing a quick handful of the candy, like a frantic child during Halloween, she trailed back into the hallway and back to where Maude was sitting on the couch. She threw the medicine bag over first, which landed with a dull thud beside Maude. It was then quickly followed by the blanket, which was less elegantly delivered as the soft sheet impacted Maude and wrapped around her face and upper body. And then finally, she threw herself onto the couch, bouncing off the couch cushions, causing the sofa to complain and groan due to the sudden shifting of weight. Alright, let's see here. I got some strawberry Pocky, some gummy bears, some kind of coconut chocolate bar, Skittles, some kind of chocolate-covered peanuts thing. Wait, are you allergic? Don't eat the nuts if you're allergic. Though I guess I don't need to tell you that. If none of it sounds good, I might have some other stuff laying around. I'm pretty sure there's some mochi in the fridge. Maybe. I don't remember if I ate it already or not. Maude felt the sudden soft fabric drape across her head. She jolted at the sudden touch, her senses suddenly flaring up in alarm. Hey, what are you... The soft pillowy space next to her suddenly deepened, sending her into a small bounce. Maude pulled the blanket off her head, only to be greeted by Alicia and a charming variety of sweets and snacks. She listened as Alicia began to list off the various foods she had ready on hand, mumbling to herself as she tried to recall which one she was sure she had or not. Maude blinked at her. Was Alicia always this caring? The surface answer, of course, was yes. Now Maude was realizing all of the effort Alicia put into making girls feel as comfortable here as they would be in their own home. The better question to ask was, had Alicia always been nice to her? Maude, specifically? It seemed as though nowadays Alicia handled Maude just a little more gently. It was a comforting change from her once prickly nature. Maude felt like she should have found it more odd, but frankly, she didn't have the energy to question it. It was nice to have kindness without asking for it. Maude leaned against the muttering girl, intertwining her own arm with Alicia's and resting her head on her shoulder. She wrapped the blanket around them, intertwining their fingers in a hold, squeezing slightly for comfort. I like the Pocky. She gestured towards the pink box, snuggling in further. As Alicia thumbed through her options, she felt the weight pressed against her. The arm looping through hers, pressing against the side of her chest, finding her fingers and slotting between them so naturally. The weight of Maude's head softly pressing into her shoulder, the hairs tickling her neck, the traces of vanilla seeping through her senses. A red glow began burning from her nose and spread across her cheeks as the sudden affection overcame her. She froze up, feeling the girl nuzzle further into her to her utmost embarrassment. She blurted out, yeah, me too. They're just good. The strawberry ones are very nice. Like, I bet you'd think I'd just get these for the Pocky game, but no, I just like them because they're so, yummy. As she rambled a little, trying to make herself sound pleased and excited to cover up the powerful blush on her face, her one free hand began to fumble with the cardboard of the packaging, letting all the other snacks spill all over her lap and the floor. She tried to peel the top open, but her nails were too short to cut into the dotted line. Damn it. The one time having short nails was a bad thing. She grumbled quietly as she tried, until eventually joking through a strained voice. God, they really make these hard to get into, huh? It's like they don't want you to eat them or something. Her brow furrowed as she once again tried to open the packaging. What was going on with her? Why was she so off her game right now? Was it because she wasn't expecting this from Maude? No, that can't be right. She was always ready to flirt and be touched at any moment, so why did she seem to be so flustered? Was it because it was so rare to have these moments with Maude? Because she'd written it off until now? Was it because Maude seemed so genuine in her touch, so significant in the moments she chose to touch her? She was meant to be good at this shit, damn it. She was meant to be a cool, reliable, hot bitch who makes cute girls flustered and get all shy. She was meant to tame brats, chase skirts, be the pursuer, the vixen, the succubus. It should not be like this. She should not be the one getting all bashful or some shit. She peeled at the box in frustration some more, tensing her jaw in concern. Maude watched for a while as Alicia struggled to dig her nails into the packaging. The other snacks had already begun to scatter from Alicia's determined efforts. Through a small yawn, Maude finally reached out with her free hand. Gimme. The word slipped out softly. She held the top of the packaging, easily digging her nail into the ridges. It gave with a small pop, followed by the sweet scent of strawberries. Just ask for help next time, she mumbled, drawing her hand back. Her head fell back against Alicia. It was almost like Alicia's shoulder fit her perfectly. There was a tempting nature to how they were positioned. Had it not been for the hungry scraping at Maude's stomach, she would have let her eyelids fall like bags of flowers sinking into the ocean. But that wouldn't be fair to Alicia. If this moment were a painting, Alicia was merely stopping by. She had a life outside this quiet, and Maude preferred to stay here until she found the strength to return to her own. Maude took a piece of Pocky, sticking the edge into her mouth. Sorry I'm eating your flirting snack, she snickered slightly, biting through the pretzel. I'll buy you another one. Maude reached into the box, sticking a piece in Alicia's mouth before returning to her own. How was your day? Alicia huffed out a small breath of acknowledgement as Maude opened the package with ease and mumbled her reprimandings in whispered tones. She watched Maude's slender fingers as they casually picked the sticks from the packaging as if sliding a cigarette out of its carton. It had a certain elegance to it. She frowned at Maude's apology. I told you it's not my flirting snack or whatever. Is it that weird that I just like to eat? She couldn't finish her sentence, as suddenly the taste of artificial strawberry was placed between her teeth. A gesture so intrusive, but in a way so compelling, so tender and deliberate. She shut up promptly. The words slipped back into her throat and would not be coaxed back out. She paused, flicking the Pocky up and down by leveraging it with her teeth. How was her day? Confusing? Frustrating? Filled with recollections of the night before and something approaching an uncomfortable stomach bug? Her day was haunted. That would be the truth. Haunted by guilt and wayward feelings, undetermined in goal and cause. It was fine. Stayed home, so not much going on. She settled herself further into the couch cushions, tilting her shoulders slightly more towards Maude, so the girl's high cheekbones would not cut into her as much. I was pretty tired. Not as much as you, but tired enough. Her head angled down toward the girl beside her, eyes scanning her face from the corner of her eye. She watched her snap off pieces of her Pocky stick, staring at her jaw as it moved, and then trying to pry the thoughts from her eyes. What was she looking for? An answer? An emotion? A subtle twitch? A smile? Whatever it was, she was having trouble finding it. Maude hummed, listening as she finished the sweet strawberry-coated pretzel. She let herself simply move with Alicia as the shoulder shifted beneath her. Normally, there'd be no rush for her delivery, but she could feel her stomach practically collapsing in on itself as each moment passed. She glanced at Alicia's phone screen, seeing that the order was still in the kitchen. Maude pouted, her eyebrows furrowed together as she began to whine. I'm hungry already. She frowned, turning her head so it would press against Alicia's shoulder. Her body turned slightly to ease any strain on her neck. In this newfound position, Maude's arm draped lazily across Alicia's stomach, her whole body going limp dramatically. Alicia, she whined. Hungry. It dawned on Maude that she hadn't eaten anything all day. It was unlike her to forget such a thing, but she'd been at Jessie's longer than she expected, and she couldn't possibly stomach a breakfast knowing what loomed over her. It was all catching up to her now. Maude pouted, her finger tracing around Alicia's knuckles in an effort to distract the rumbling in her stomach. Alicia hummed in amusement as the girl began to whine, smile transforming into something more tight-lipped as the girl draped herself across her body. Maude was really trying to get as intertwined as humanly possible right now. It was starting to be a danger to Alicia's already unstable composure. Her eyes were magnetically pulled to her hand, watching Maude's finger dance circles and trace meandering grooves across her skin. She swallowed. Jesus, Pinky, you had one Pocky stick and you're already getting this impatient. It'll get here soon enough. These guys are always really quick. She sighed. There's still more. She shook the Pocky box back and forth, temptingly. She set it between her legs, freeing up her hand to pick one out and hold it up to Maude. Here, say ah. She was trying anything to distract her mind, but Alicia's autopilot wasn't exactly to be trusted. Taking care of someone very quickly turned into something with a lot of subtext and a whole lot more tension. She hadn't realized what she was doing yet at all. She was just feeding Maude Pocky. Nothing weird about it. Totally normal roommate behavior. Totally. Maude peeked an eye out from Alicia's shoulder. She stared at the pretzel for a moment before leaning forward, taking a bite out of it. Maude leaned in more to get another bite, and another, and another. After a moment of chewing, she leaned forward once more, taking the short Pocky stick fully from Alicia, her lips slightly grazing the tips of Alicia's fingers. The sweet strawberry-coated pretzel inched its way up her mouth as Maude stared off. It was only now that Maude had noticed how good Alicia smelled. She had noticed the damp hair when she arrived, assuming that Alicia had just hopped out the shower. A fruity mix of mango and coconut wafted from her like a midsummer's dream. It was nice. Your shampoo smells nice. You smell like these old Mycene dolls, Maude mumbled through the snack. She didn't know why that was the reference she could pull out so quickly. Then again, she didn't understand any of her thoughts at the moment, because as much as she tried to steer away from it, her mind seemed to always manage to find its way floating back to Jessie. Specifically, her words. For a moment, Maude was tempted to believe her. What if she really was straight and she was simply fooling herself and, in turn, trying to fool others? Though the thought made her sick, Maude wondered if she had just lied to herself so much she had convinced this of herself. Doubt seeped into her mind. Still, the idea of dating a man didn't sound all that appealing either. So which was it? Jessie's words must have held some truth. They had to. If it didn't, then they would have just hurt, and Maude wasn't quite ready to accept that Jessie could have hurt her so carelessly. At least not right now. She wasn't that kind of person, surely. Her brows furrowed at the sinking in her stomach. Alicia's expression was somewhat fond as Maude bit off the first piece of the stick, but as she kept going further down, her eyes widened and her lips pressed together once more. She had a habit of doing that when she got flustered, she noticed. Not that she was flustered, of course, just surprised. That's all. Maude's lips against her fingers were not something to think about right now. What? Thanks, it's coconut and mango, so... Alicia had never really been one for dolls. She was a little bit more of a tomboy as a kid, and the only reason she'd be handling Barbies was to undress them. It was safe to say her mom did not let her have Barbies. No, she was always much more about the tech decks, despite not at all being into skating, the outside toys, and, of course, the myriad of video games that she'd play to death. She looked down at Maude, who was deep in thought, and then slowly lowered her head down on hers. She was already tucked into her shoulder, so it's not like she had to travel far. It was just a matter of letting the weight of her head slowly lose its fight with gravity and landing in the cotton candy fields that was Maude's hair. She took a deep breath in. She was worried about these recent little outbursts of romantic frustration. Of course she was. She hadn't planned on dealing with Maude thoughts on a platonic level, let alone this. But when she put all her worries aside, it was nice. She had to admit it to herself. She felt kind of safe with this girl. A ding sounded from Alicia's phone. The screen illuminated, showing a notification reading, "Your order has arrived." A knock on the door followed shortly after. How long was Maude staring off? That must be it. Maude removed the blanket, going to stand up. Her hand had slowly begun to lift away from Alicia's. When Maude moved to stand up, however, Alicia squeezed her own hand tightly around the one trying to escape her grasp. She pulled her back down, using the leverage to pull herself up. With a hand against Maude's shoulder, she pushed her back against the couch cushion, forcing her to remain seated. "Nuh-uh! No way, princess. Sit down." "Oh!" Maude let out a small yelp as she felt herself get yanked back onto the couch. She'd forgotten how strong Alicia actually was. Actually, had she ever seen Alicia work out? She'd never seen her leave the house in workout clothes or come home in them. Was she just naturally this strong? Maude shook her thoughts out of it. She did not need to be thinking this long about Alicia's strength. Princess. Maude smiled slightly at the name. That whole princess thing was kind of meant to be a jab at Maude's whiny behavior, but out of context, it just sounded kind of flirty. She'd really have to work on her teasing more. It was getting way too confusing even for her. She shook her head, walking in a straight line towards the door instead and opening it. Weird oversized shirt and short shorts and all. She had a quick exchange with the delivery boy, whose interest was apparent but entirely one-sided, after which Alicia rushed into the kitchen holding several white plastic bags full of takeout. She looked through them quickly, locating the ice creams and stashing them hurriedly into the freezer, bag and all. She then, after a quick visit to the utensils drawer, maneuvered her way back to the couch, setting the other plastic bag in front of Maude and letting herself drop back down on the couch next to her. "Thank God. All your complaining made me hungry too," she said teasingly, as if she didn't just stash something away suspiciously. Maude watched with a somewhat fond smile as Alicia took charge of the delivery, watching her unload them in the kitchen, sort them away while mysteriously and very poorly hiding and sneaking something into the freezer. It was funny to watch her act as if she'd just stepped right out of Bling Ring, like she'd been so sneaky with it. Maude let out a small huff of a laugh as Alicia returned as if nothing happened. "Smooth," she nodded. Maude unraveled the plastic, taking out her rice bowl. As she lifted the plastic cover, warm steam wafted up towards her face. The sweet and savory smell of teriyaki chicken and rice drew her closer. Alicia rolled her eyes at the sassy little remark Maude so casually dropped. When am I ever not? It's not like she was trying to be that sneaky about it. It was just that she wanted to save the surprise for later, to cheer Maude up. That was the whole point. Maude was sad over a breakup. She was all weird and uncomfortable to talk to when she was sad, so Alicia was fixing it to make everything normal again. That's right. This was a normal thing to do for your roommate, she assured herself. She felt her balance slowly returning, her mental fortitude strengthening as she shook off some of that fluster. She was leading this whole interaction. She should act like it. She was the cute, kind, thoughtful, spontaneous, fun-loving, incredibly hot roommate doing fun, spontaneous, thoughtful things for the girl with the broken heart. That felt right. That made it all feel a lot more natural and made her feel less like a blustering, flailing, horny idiot. Maude wasted no time taking her first bite. She wondered whether it was the hunger, the exhaustion, or both, which made this particular rice bowl taste like something sliced from the heavens. She took a deep breath, savoring the flavor. She hummed happily, her body swaying ever so slightly as she did a little happy dance. You have to try this, it's so good. Maude took a spoonful, offering it up to Alicia's mouth. Say ah. Alicia was broken from her mental reformatting by the spoon appearing in her line of sight, and without really thinking about it, opened her mouth and leaned forward to envelop the spoon. She slowly slid the utensil from between her lips as she remained thoughtful, eyes looking up at Maude, who was wiggling and smiling and humming happily. This is much better, she finally asserted contently. She meant it in regards to Maude's improved mood, though it could easily be mistaken for a comment on the food. It was probably best left that way anyways. Feeling a little better yet? Your face isn't made for frowning, it looks weird on you. Glad you decided to quit that. She finally opened up her own food, some kind of fried rice, meaty, saucy meal. She had honestly entirely forgotten what she had ordered. She just quickly tapped something that looked somewhat acceptable and moved on quickly to the ice cream. Still, as she stuck a spoonful in her mouth, there was certainly nothing to complain about. She knew fried rice whatever wouldn't let her down. Maude glanced at Alicia as she slowly took the spoon. It was hard not to when Alicia's eyes were practically locked on her. She stared down at Alicia as she did so, watching her slide the plasticware out of her mouth. Even as Alicia sat up properly to eat, her eyes focused on Alicia's features. It was as if her words were merely sliding off her like water off a duck's back. She ignored the questioning comments, fixing herself upright. Maude leaned in closer. 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 Until the smell of vanilla could have driven Alicia drunk with sweetness. Her lips parted as she raised a hand to Alicia's face, soft fingertips on a smooth cheek. She was doing it again, the whole personal space thing. It felt like every time Alicia found her balance, every time Maude caught wind of her confidence coming back, she pulled something like this. Alicia braced. She wouldn't let it get to her again. If Maude was playing a game like she suspected, trying to keep her off balance for whatever reason it might be, she wouldn't let her get away with it that easily. Was this flirting? It felt like flirting, but if Maude was flirting with her, then didn't that mean she was interested in her? So what happened last night, that hesitation before she left, the staring at her lips, was she about to... Her fingers picked off an eyelash right below her eye. There, sorry. Maude sat back up. I don't have my glasses on me right now, so I wasn't sure if that was a bug or not. She settled back into her seat, a small smile painting her face as she took another spoonful of her food. I almost smacked it off your face. Maude giggled at the idea. Alicia's comments had finally become clear in her head, rid from the ironic fog of concentration. Your face isn't made for frowning, Maude scoffed, shaking her head though she couldn't shake the smile. Yes, well, I guess it would be a waste of all those facials. Maude smoothed the skin between her brows. I have to stop frowning. It's going to give me wrinkles at 25. An eyelash. Ah, okay. Got it. She sighed, quietly reprimanding herself for getting so worked up over such an innocuous motion. Except it wasn't innocuous at all. If she had done that, it would absolutely have been a flirty gesture. Was Maude the type to accidentally flirt with people? Maude looked towards Alicia, suddenly examining her skin as if she hadn't just done that a moment ago. You have... Maude tilted her head. Really good skin, actually, now that I'm properly looking at it. Maude leaned a little to the side to get a full view. You have, like, naturally blushed cheeks all the time. It's nice. She looked the girl quietly up and down as she leaned back in to inspect her skin, steaming rice bowl in her hand and subtle sparkle in her eyes. Yep. Yes, she absolutely was. She had to wonder how many boys she'd made fall head over heels for her by just interacting with them once. How many poor, confused gay girls she sent through the ringer. How much of a terror she must have been in high school if flirting came this naturally to her. There was something to be said about flirting needing to be intentional to be flirting, but sometimes the subconscious knows better what it wants than the part of the mind holding the reins. Alicia quirked an eyebrow and smirked at the compliments. Why, thank you, Maude. A thought occurred to her. The moment Maude caught on to the atmosphere she was creating, she'd probably back down. Maybe the move here was to stay confident, to call her bluff, to fight fire with fire until the fire gets too close and gets burned. That didn't make sense, whatever. The move was to flirt back a little. So Maude realized how much she continued to imply. That she could do. She leaned back towards Maude, bringing their faces closer together. Why are you trying to butter me up, huh? Do you have laundry that needs doing or something? Or... She tilted her head, hair pulled down by gravity. It was somewhat reminiscent of a curious dog, but her face was broadcasting something much more feline. Are you just looking for excuses to get close again? You can just ask for a hug, you know. Maude thought for a moment. Regularly, she would turn her nose up at Alicia's teasing remarks, scoff and go into the many reasons why she wouldn't want such a ridiculous thing. Not only because it was ultimately and horribly embarrassing, but also because it came from her, Alicia. There were, however, two problems. One, Alicia was being kind. For as many difficulties as she'd given, the past few weeks Maude had found herself leaning on Alicia. Literally, as well. Her kindness, of course, came with its fair share of teasing, but it always ended in something sweet. Like a slice of lemon pie. Sour until the sweet dough. As much as Maude didn't want to, she felt compelled to trust Alicia. Trust that this version of her was not like the others, and that she could take her words with clear sincerity. It was stupid, Maude was aware, but how was she to know Alicia was genuine in her friendship if she'd never given her the chance to be? Perhaps she would find a friend in her. 2, Maude simply wanted to hug her. That was all it could boil down to in the end. Maude's eyes lowered for a moment in thought as her thumb gently rubbed against the paper bowl. That sounds quite nice right now, actually. Her eyes raised again to meet Alicia's. Oh. Alicia paused briefly, not expecting that timid of an answer, let alone one agreeing with her. She swallowed her nerves. Well, then I'll take that as you asking, I guess. Alicia put her food down on the coffee table, looking around with a slightly frantic energy for a moment that lasted but a few seconds. Okay, let's see how to do this. She looped her fingers under the edge of the coffee table, pulling it closer, grinding across the soft carpet it stood on. She dragged her bowl a little closer, then nodded in quiet satisfaction of the setup. It was missing something, though. If they were going to get cozy, it was going to get weird and charged again without a proper distraction. Alicia had to protect Maude from herself and prevent that at all costs, so... She leaned over the side of the couch, pulling forth the sleek, thin laptop she had stashed away and charging. It seemed pretty futuristic, with RGB lighting along the rims and some kind of dragon logo on the back. It was certainly not a laptop used just for typing essays and watching some random streaming service, but it would be for today. She flipped it open, powering it on and leaving it to do its thing as she finally, after all the lead-up, pulled on the blanket and opened her arms. It wasn't as full-on of a cuddling session as last night. That would keep her pretty firmly pinned down and unable to eat her food, but it would have all the parts of it that mattered. Maude leaning on her chest, one hand free to wrap around her, and enough cushioning and pillows to support both of their backs without giving either of them a hernia. She smiled somewhat nervously. USS Augustine, you are cleared for landing. Maude fed herself spoonfuls of rice as she watched Alicia begin to adjust herself and their surroundings. It was sort of charming to watch Alicia put so much effort into making her comfortable. Of course, Maude knew a majority of this probably came from the fact that Maude had just broken up with her first girlfriend. It was a bad breakup, and it clearly showed. But a small part of Maude entertained itself with the thought that perhaps Alicia was doing this from her own once. It was a silly thought, but perhaps not entirely impossible. The nervous expression on Alicia's face drew out a small smile that crept onto Maude's lips like a laugh she tried to repress. She scooted herself closer to Alicia, leaning back against her chest. USS isn't for planes, she whispered through a fond smile. This position felt intimate, but less in a tense way and more in a best friends at a sleepover way. It was nice. It was new. Maude did find herself with a good set of friends, that wasn't the issue. She had just never thought to find one in Alicia. And right now, Maude wouldn't mind the company. It was strangely soothing, like falling asleep to muffled, messy jazz spilled across the floor in the next room over. Oh, are we gonna watch something? Maude glanced at the laptop, its keyboard illuminated with slowly phasing colors. With her back pressed against Alicia, Maude still had the free range to hold her food properly. However, she noticed Alicia's paper bowl sat on the coffee table. Are you comfortable? Maude turned her head slightly to look at Alicia. Her body began to lift off from her, the vanilla warmth she brought slowly being replaced by lonely cold. If you're not, it's okay. We don't have to. Oh, no, you fucking don't. Alicia's free arm grappled around Maude's stomach and pulled her back in, body pushed back against hers, forcefully reclaiming the comfort. She held her in place there, looking towards the computer where the other hand had found the trackpad and had the cursor hover over one of several streaming service icons, seemingly waiting for some decision to be made. You don't get to be depressed breakup girl and not let me take care of you. Stay down, eat your food, pick something. What are we watching? There was a sternness to her voice, a commanding tone, as if Alicia had decided playtime was over and she was taking charge. It's not like she was trying to order Maude around, but if this is what it would take for Maude to stop constantly checking in on her and think about herself for once, then so be it. Stop worrying about me, okay? That's my job right now. Just relax. She lifted her hand from the trackpad, bringing it up to Maude's head and ruffling her hair, messing it all up. She grinned. Or do you not know how to? It was said ever so teasingly, clearly in reference to her party challenge on who had the most fun, making light fun of them both for even attempting such a challenge. It's what landed them in this fine mess in the first place. As Alicia dragged Maude back into the comfortable position, Maude let out a slight yelp at the sudden tug. Alicia had been quite stern tonight. In a caring way, of course. Maude pouted at the challenging tone, eyebrows knitted in playful offense. She let out a huff. "I can relax. Just watch me," she mumbled as the warmth returned back to her, cozying herself up into the cuddle. It was a strange thing. Once she had let herself lean properly against Alicia, her nerves began to melt away like ice cream in warm afternoon sunlight. Her head leaned into the cushion of Alicia's shoulder, ponytail hanging on loosely as it had already begun to slip from her hair. At Alicia's request, Maude leaned over toward the laptop. With her hand on the trackpad, she easily located the preferred streaming site and typed in a film title with no hesitation. Legally Blonde. Maude hurried herself back into position, letting the movie play as she continued to eat her food. The tension of the day, which had so tightly coiled itself around her, had slowly begun to loosen, like a ribbon being pulled undone. As the movie played, a quiet mumbling could be heard from Maude. It was almost a whisper. At Alicia's close proximity, she could hear Maude reciting the movie word for word. Every sentence, setup, punchline, and even delivery was uttered effortlessly in between warm bites of teriyaki. "I love that restaurant. I heard Madonna went into labor there. Oh gosh, I have to go shopping. Okay, I'll see you tonight. Okay, bye." Maude mumbled under her breath, stirring her food into the sauce. She fed herself a spoonful, but still managed to hum the lines. I want it forever. Oh, that's so cute. Oh my gosh, you guys are so sweet. One more part of happy time. As she swallowed her food, Maude went right back to whispering the lines, having it come to her almost like second nature. "Hello, he just had lunch with his grandmother. You know he got the rack. Why else would she have flown in from Newport? It's not like she'd FedEx a 6-carat diamond." Alicia looked down at Maude as if she had just descended onto her lap from a flying saucer. She quietly leaned over and used her one hand to shovel some food into her mouth, eyes still locked onto the girl in front of her, rattling off lines like an overzealous high schooler auditioning for the school play. She was stunned. Then slowly, a tickling sensation bubbled up from her stomach and up to her lungs, causing her to almost choke on her food as her breath began to hitch in held-back chuckles. She swallowed, removing the dangerous element of food in her mouth from the equation, and then devolved into more measured, hearty chuckles. She squeezed her arm a little tighter around Maude, holding her almost affectionately as she leaned back into the couch, finally relaxing a little bit. This whole idea she had of cheering Maude up was going more smoothly than she had expected. She looked at the computer screen. God, you are such a fucking loser sometimes. How has your immense dorkiness flown under the radar this long? She said it with a playful lilt to her voice, teasing but fond. I'm not dorky. Maude glanced back at Alicia with a small smile, followed by an overly confident tone. I'm just passionate and have a great memory. She let out a small huff before returning her attention back towards the screen. Her spoon stirred at the rice. I used to watch this all the time when I was younger. I just always thought Elle Woods was so beautiful and so smart. I loved every single one of her outfits and dreamed of dressing like her every single day. A fond smile tugged at her lips as sweet memories floated into her view. Now it's like a comfort movie to me, so I've seen this at least 15 times. She sounded almost proud of that fact. Alicia hung her head, shaking off the remaining chuckle still circulating her system. Taking a relaxed breath, she focused her attention back on the screen as well, hoping to divert any anger towards her comment back onto Elle Woods. I haven't seen this movie since, middle school, I think? And I was at a sleepover, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I remember anything about this other than the guy fucking sucks. The girls at the time thought he was so handsome, and I just remember thinking he looked like a malnourished frog. I complained every time he came on screen. She laughed, then stopped herself and frowned, realization laying heavy on her brow. Come to think of it, maybe that's why I wasn't invited to the next sleepover. At Alicia's realization, Maude bursted out into a small fit of laughter. She hung her head forward, shaking it as giggles poured out from her like confetti. Yeah! She snuck in through giggles. Yeah, that's probably why, Alicia. Maude's body folded slightly at the laughter as her knees pulled closer to her chest. I can't blame you, but you're so harsh with your comparisons. He's not bad looking, he's just Hallmark handsome. You know what I mean? Maude reached out, pausing the movie right on Warner's face. She then, to no one's request, began presenting the still frame as if it was stock numbers in a meeting. Can't you see him playing some small-town man who runs a bakery, meeting a big city girl whose sassy best friend told her she needed to get away? Maude adjusted herself momentarily to see Alicia's face a little better. They meet because his dog runs up to her, she's totally cynical about it, and he shows her that's what Christmas is all about. Maude held back a laugh behind a proud and tired smile as she looked back at Alicia. The sound of Maude's laugh was, well, she hadn't heard it so clearly before now. It had never been so unrestrained, so sincere and joyful. She had to admit, she really liked the sound of it. And it was because of something she said. She caused that. Huh. Alicia was in the middle of mumbling out a cheeky, smiling retort. She had gotten as far as, "By the way, Maude, you still dress like Elle Wood," before Maude's enthusiastic comparison completely distracted her, eager, tired eyes searching her for approval. She squinted at the screen, eyes poring over the details of the male actor playing Warner. She scrunched up her nose. I mean, well, yeah, I guess. I don't know, he still looks weird to me. But I guess all men do. Their faces are all just so blah, you know? She pulled a face of exaggerated disgust. Alicia had never seen the appeal of men. She was always that toddler who would bully the boy toddlers, and people would say, "Oh, look at little Alicia. She's gonna have such a boy-crazy phase, isn't she?" Yet they didn't realize that she was always bullying the boys because they were bullying the girls, and Alicia got jealous of them. Yes, her tastes were quite front and center from the very start. She had always kind of known which way she was pulled, and even though it still took her a while to come out, it definitely saved her a lot of uncomfortable boyfriend stories from the closet. God, had she heard some bad boyfriend stories from other gay girls. She continued on her rant. Besides, the women in those movies are always so... She clearly cycled through her mental lexicon of words, carefully selecting the best ones for the description. Horribly superficial. It was hard to believe that the long pause resulted in such harsh and scathing words, but in the end, it's the only words that came to mind. I mean, it's always like their boyfriend in New York or whatever works insane overtime over the holidays to provide for the two of them, and the girl always repays the hard work by running off to some nowhere town and falling in love with the first slightly disheveled chocolatier or lumberjack she comes across. Oh, he never had time for me. Like, girl, you live in the middle of New York and work as a small-time florist. You think that rent is going to magically pay itself? And of course the country bumpkin guy has time for you. Everyone in the middle of nowhere has time on their hands all the damn time. It's just like... She shook her head, cutting her only somewhat related tangent off before it went anywhere else. She smiled down at Maude. Who knew she had so many feelings about Hallmark Christmas movies? Anyways, point is, the guys in those movies all look the same and are incredibly boring. It's always the best friend character that's the hot one. Just look next time you watch one, you'll see. Laughter overcame Maude like a swarm of butterflies. At Alicia's comments about the florist occupation, Maude leaned her head against Alicia's shoulder, pushing Alicia's head playfully as she was battling a fit of giggles. Oh my god! She breathed out between laughs. Her head rose again, cheeks flushed in laughter as she tried to regain enough composure to speak properly. Just think about being this guy, working so hard for your girlfriend because you live like a block away from Times Square. You tell her, you should take a vacation. You lose to a goddamn pumpkin pie with a cowboy hat on. What the fuck, Jenna? Maude's voice rose in pitch at the last few words, before it was quickly muddled with bubbly laughter once more. She leaned forward into Alicia again, hitting her arm playfully as her own joke replayed in her mind over and over again. It felt nice to laugh like this again. Maude couldn't remember the last time she had let herself be relaxed enough to actually have fun with friends. Life was far too short to not try to have the most fun out of it. Perhaps Alicia had been right. As much as college was about education, it was also a golden time to carve out fond youthful memories for years to come. An overwhelming sense of determination filled her, like sparklers on New Year's Eve. A sincere grin grew across Alicia's face as Maude started to playfully punch her arm at their collective, fictional scenario. Maude was actually a pretty cheerful individual when she let herself be one, wasn't she? Beneath all the fretting and grumbling and focused staring, she was actually quite... light? Maybe that wasn't the right word. Bubbly, maybe? Happy-go-lucky? No, those words all feel too... much. Pleasant. Yes, Maude was pleasant. Pleasant in the way, like you're sitting with your friends and are struck with a wave of affection as they goof off. Pleasant like someone giving you a really thoughtful gift on your birthday. Pleasant like sitting in your room alone and watching a really funny video. Unapologetically, comfortingly, numbingly pleasant. Real. Maude finally caught her breath, sitting up as a few stray giggles escaped her. She wiped a tear from her eye, smiling at Alicia still. I kinda wish we could watch a Hallmark movie now, but I also really like this movie. She gestured back towards the screen. Suddenly remembering her food, Maude managed to scoop a spoonful into her mouth, swaying slightly in a little dance. We should watch one sometime and just make fun of it. she said after swallowing her food. We should have a bingo card for it. Like, take a shot every time someone says a line weirdly breathily, and you just get deliriously blacked out. Maude giggled, smiling a little mischievously at the idea. You must have a death wish or something. You die of liver failure 45 minutes into the first movie. You'd have to do shots of, like, wine or something, or swigs of a drink instead. Alicia's grin didn't falter, but softened somewhat. Sounds like a plan, though. When and where? She mostly meant that as a joke, but she wasn't going to lie. In this moment, an evening like that sounded lovely. Maybe in a day or so, after she breaks free from this vanilla pheromone-induced fugue state, she'd come to regret ever even offering. She'd curse herself for letting this girl get even further lodged in her brain, for putting herself in even more scenarios in which her sex-crazed impulses could get a hold of her. Yet she hadn't really had them as strongly this whole night. I mean, Maude was obviously tired and just broke up with her first girlfriend, so obviously not. But still, not even the thought occurred to her. Huh. She stuck another bite of food in her mouth, utensils beginning to scrape the bottom of the plate as the meal began to reach its conclusion. Let me know when you're done with your food, by the way. Cuddled into Alicia, Maude hummed in amusement as Alicia humored the idea. Dunno, Maude responded, head against Alicia's shoulders as she continued to feed herself spoonfuls of sweet teriyaki. I'll have to check my schedule, see if there's a slot for you. I'm a very busy woman, you know. The corner of Maude's lips tugged to give Alicia a teasing grin. It felt strange to admit it, but Alicia was actually somewhat fun to hang around. Right now, Maude couldn't recognize the sloppy roommate whom she had shared arguments with as long as the clock ticked away. It was no wonder Alicia was so well-loved at any gathering she attended. She was lovely when she wasn't consistently hurling insults. Though, Maude wasn't quite sure if Alicia felt the same. After all, they were just roommates. Maude shook her thoughts aside. Now was not the time to try and analyze every single interpersonal relationship she had, just because one ended poorly. If she continued, she'd surely send herself into a spiral. Soon enough, Maude found herself with a satisfied hunger and an empty bowl. She raised the bowl slightly to show Alicia as she chewed. Maude made a small humming noise as to prompt Alicia to look. She set the bowl onto the coffee table, looking around as she noticed the lack of drinks. Hold on, I forgot to get water. Maude pat Alicia's legs, beginning to heave herself up from the hug. Alicia made a small scoffing noise at the mention of a schedule, choosing to answer simply by sticking more food in her mouth and tapping the space bar on the movie playing, finally setting it back in motion. They'd been talking and teasing so long she'd entirely forgotten there was even a movie to begin with. Maybe the need for a distraction wasn't as dire as she had initially imagined. She set her bowl aside, mostly clean aside from the occasional food scrap she wasn't entirely interested in anymore, and looked down in bemusement at Maude's proud presentation of her own empty bowl. She smiled, putting on a motherly voice. Wow, Maude, very good. You cleaned your plate all by yourself? What a good girl you are, such a big girl. She ruffled Maude's hair, letting her rise from the couch properly this time without being pulled back into her clutches. She wasn't that insistent. That would be overkill. Maude scoffed at the condescending motherly tone Alicia put on as she began to stack their bowls. She swerved her head slightly to avoid the ruffling, but to no avail. Alicia's joking praise made Maude roll her eyes, but there was a brief moment of pause in her mind as she fully processed what Alicia had said. Her breath hitched for a moment. Huh. Weird. Maude cleared her throat, shaking her head. Yeah, you were the one who told me to tell you when I was done. A small laugh escaped her as she properly stood herself up. While you're at it, grab the plastic bag from the freezer. Or rather, take your pick of which one you like best, and then just grab whatever for me. She playfully tapped Maude's butt with her foot as she began to walk away, quickly receding and nestling back into the couch, eyes on the screen as if she had innocently been watching the movie this whole time. No hijinks here. Hey! Maude narrowed her eyes playfully at Alicia as she felt the light kick on her butt. Criminal. Culprit. Maude made her way toward the kitchen, throwing away the takeout containers as she stretched her arms up. At the mention of the freezer, Maude glanced at Alicia for a moment. She got dessert, too. Maude must have been quite checked out from hunger to not notice. She opened the freezer and, to her surprise, several pints of ice cream of various flavors awaited for her. The chill from the freezer sent a shiver straight down her spine. She didn't remember asking Alicia for ice cream at all. Her lips pursed into a small, hidden smile. Okay, she called out, picking up 2 pints of ice cream. Soon, Maude went back to the couch, 2 pints of ice cream in hand, along with a pair of water bottles pressed against her chest. I didn't know you got ice cream. Maude set it onto the coffee table, crawling back towards Alicia. She handed Alicia the white chocolate strawberry flavor, keeping the cookie dough flavor for herself. How'd you know this is my favorite flavor? Maude cracked the pint open, a fond resting smile on her face as she handed Alicia a spoon. A sneaky grin cracked Alicia's face after she was labeled with ill intentions while she waited for the telltale signs of the freezer opening. Alicia observed Maude's expression closely upon her return with the sugary bounty, scanning her for a reaction. I mean, she had splurged on ice cream to cheer her up. The soft smile that Maude was beaming towards her told her enough. It seems her mission had succeeded. It felt like a sunbeam, warming her to the bone and causing a subtle heat to rise from her stomach to her face. She shook off the sensation, silently congratulating herself for the amazing decision of secret breakup ice cream before cracking open her own pint and smiling to herself. As Maude crawled back towards her and nestled into her arms, she looped the arm with the ice cream tub around Maude's shoulder and neck so she could still reach it with the other hand holding the spoon. She chuckled. Well, I didn't, which is why I got like 4 different ones just in case. She cracked the top of her own pint of ice cream's chocolate crust, trying to dig the spoon forcefully into the still frozen treat with some difficulty. She stuck the spoon in her mouth with what was, in all honesty, mainly chocolate due to her failed ice cream retrieval attempt. As she chewed, she motions with her spoon, pointing it at Maude's face like some kind of wand or weapon. You have a broken heart, and broken-hearted girls need ice cream. I don't make the rules, I just enforce them. She grins, setting her own ice cream aside for a second so it can soften up some more. She'd have plenty of time to enjoy it. Time passed, and with the empty pints of ice cream on the table and a comfortable lull in conversation, Maude found herself further snuggled into the embrace. Now, the two were settled in a different position. Maude's chest snuggled against Alicia's stomach as her cheek pressed against Alicia's chest. The day weighed heavily on her. Maude hadn't quite noticed how deep the night was getting. The gentle rise and fall of Alicia's chest slowly began to lull Maude into a tempting sleep. Though Maude didn't quite know why she was fighting it. It was a relatively late hour. Maude was tired enough, and Alicia was comfortable. Maude toyed with the hem of Alicia's shirt, tangling it between her fingers absent-mindedly. The soft fabric rolled between her fingers. Maude felt the chill on her eyelids, hiding her face further into the blanket. The sound of Legally Blonde began to muddle into the night as Maude's sleepy ears tuned in and out of the movie. For a moment, Jessie's face flashed in her mind. A small twinge squeezed in Maude's chest as the memory flooded her mind momentarily. Jessie's words stung like a summer sunburn, and Maude could still feel it prickle against her skin. Maude frowned, holding on to Alicia. "I'm tired," she muttered, vocal fry evident. Maude's eyelids slowly began to flutter until it finally reached a close. It didn't take long for her to drift off into sleep. The events of her day beginning to fade into calm like a sea after a storm. A small snoring noise buzzed from her sleepy figure as the final scenes of the movie began. With the embrace deepening and Maude burying herself into the warmth of her body, a small sigh escaped Alicia's nose. She looked down at the girl, mumbling in a sleepy voice, cuddled up oh so defensively. Or rather, quite well defended, but defended by her of all people. She, who once was the enemy number one of Fort Maude, now stood proudly on its walls, with the princess draped onto her. She softly brushed the hair out of her new charge's face, protecting Maude's sleep from the tickling pink strands. "I know," was all she responded with. It was the one thing Alicia noticed immediately when she first saw Maude. She was tired. In earnest, she was surprised Maude had lasted this long staying conscious. She looked about ready to collapse when she first returned, and she actually sort of did first thing. She took a deep breath in, chest rising and ballooning under Maude's head, after which she let herself slide a little further down into the couch, enough to be more comfortable and support her neck. It meant Maude's head was slightly closer, slightly higher on her chest, right where her heart beat most fervently against the skin, and its pace would somewhat quicken as the smell of Maude's hair once again filled her senses. This was fucked, wasn't it? She was so fucked. Why did she have to be so defenseless against sad girls? Why did Maude's smile have to be so damn disarming? Why did Maude have to be so cute? She slowly brought up her arms, wrapping them around her, securing her to her body like a teddy bear. She was warm. Maybe it'd be okay for tonight. Mona would still be there the next day, right? Plus, it's not like anything was planned. It was meant to be a spontaneous visit anyways. This was fine. Everything was fine. This was just a temporary feeling brought on by her horny, touch-starved brain. That was all. Everything was just fine.